All right, welcome back, everybody. I am here with Bren, who is part of the art team for the Star Wars Dark Forces Remaster. Thank you for joining me today, Bren.
Yeah, no worries. How's it going?
I'm doing really well. I'm really excited to chat with you because, the remaster was amazing and you did some really interesting work on it. So, why don't you first tell me a little bit about yourself and how you came to work on Star Wars Dark Forces?
Yeah, so I guess my background starts. I used to be a bartender, and I kind of just ended up spending my spare time learning Blender, and just realized got really interested in 3D. Had a roommate at the time was like, "Hey, check out this program," and then just started moving from there. I tried to do project of the week for a little while,
Nice,
and then
nice.
I just always loved cutscenes, and one of my favorites of all time was the Quake 2 cutscene, the
Yes,
intro sequence. Yeah, it's
classic.
amazing. It's so good. Like, I kind of felt like, it's getting a little dated at this point. So the audio work was so incredible, and I just thought, hey, this would be a sweet project to try and jump in on and just kind of update it, and it would be a good learning project. Learn to model, learn to animate, learn to do textures, everything. So
Sick.
I ended up getting discovered by Nightdive, I guess, because I posted a YouTube video of this Quake 2 intro video, and I got brought on to help out with that, and then it's just been no looking back since, just project to project. So
Now
ended
I
up
have
on
to
Dark
ask,
Forces next.
yeah, now I
Yeah.
have to ask, did you start with the Blender donut?
I do have a Blender donut in my catalog for sure. I don't know if that was the very start. There
Yeah.
was probably a couple of misadventures along the way
Yeah,
before that one, but yeah,
I
definitely got
donut.
one of those.
I remember starting with that project and just being like,
Yeah.
"I am a god," after I, finished that thing, and then you
Thought mine
realize
turned
that
out pretty good.
yeah, it's not too bad, so okay, that's amazing. So going from, a Blender curiosity and then getting picked up by Nightdive. I was speaking with Steven Kick, and he said, yeah, he just, like, saw this Quake 2 animation or intro, and he was just like, "I want that." And, we were chatting about how cool that was just to, like, seek out really niche artists or developers and
Yeah.
pull them in. I really love that story. So yeah, you worked on, Dark Forces, did a lot of the cutscenes. Why don't you
Yep.
take me into a little bit of your process on what that entails for because when you think a cutscene, that could mean anything from hand drawn animation to in game
Mhm.
engine footage. Speak to me like I don't know anything about what goes into this, and just walk me through your process.
Yeah. So it was actually a pretty unique one. I mean, I haven't been in the industry super long, but
Yeah, yeah,
just the fact that in these cutscenes that they had for Dark Forces, you have a mixture of 3D models, you got 2D painted characters, you've got clips from the live action movies, like they're all just kind of bringing it all together. Yeah, so I guess to start off, we kind of ran into an issue with these the original cutscenes kind of ran live within the video game, and there were these super complex, they're just like animation files that sort of drove the sprites and everything like that.
hmm
So our first challenge there was that just the process wasn't working for us, so we had to switch over to FMV, which is
yep,
I guess just kind of pre-rendered cinematic files if you're not
yep.
familiar. So yeah, we kind of just take the best quality recordings we can get and just kind of go run from there. I did the 3D work, so a lot of the environment art. So yeah, if you ever see Katarn and Mothma, aboard the ship, obviously the background is a bit of a 3D asset, and we've
Right.
kind of tried to marry those things by painting over that as well, kind of doing some line work and just bring the art styles closer together. So my part in that is doing 3D models for the backgrounds,
Yep.
lighting, everything, just trying to recreate the scene as faithfully as possible. And then Ben takes over with the characters. So Ben Chandler was our character artist for that one. He does the 2D painted sprites for those.
Nice.
So we kind of dropped those in, and we kind of found that the backgrounds were just feeling a little too simple
Right.
in comparison to the characters. So that's where our director David E came in and was like, we got to do something here. We used to have you could have the 240p just kind of like lends a certain texture to
Yeah.
the image, and it kind of like does the compositing for you in a way. So, yeah, we just kind of found that we needed to do like a bit of a paint over, which I took care of, and just kind of make these backgrounds look a little more painterly than just a straight 3D render.
Yeah, so when you're creating these, that background, for instance, are
Yeah.
you working off of obviously the reference point from the original game, but are you building these from scratch?
Yeah, everything is from scratch for these. So
Nice.
yeah, that's all Blender based.
Nice. And then when you are compositing in on that sort of final step,
Yeah.
what does that mean when you're painting something in?
Yeah, so all the backgrounds for those kinds of scenes are
Yeah.
just kind of a still image.
Yeah.
There are some visual effects sequences like the holograms that kind of give it a little bit of flicker, and we match those later.
Yeah.
But basically, I just take my still image 3D render, bring it into Photoshop, getting some brush kits,
Yeah.
and just added painting in a little bit of texture,
Gotcha.
going over like painting in the lines is a good way. Yeah, just like any hard edge, I guess you just want to get some lines on.
Yeah. Give it a
That
little
just
bit
like
more light and
immediately,
depth.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Nice.
just immediately brings it into a more painterly vibe, I guess.
Gotcha. So you're literally painting on that image. So that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Yeah, so Photoshop there, and then After Effects for compositing and doing
yeah,
the animation of the characters.
amazing. Now, working in a team like that between, the 2, 3 of you, what's that collaboration like? Are you guys sort of doing your own thing in silos and then kind of come together for a final image, or are you kind of going back and forth day to day? What does that sort of look like?
Yeah, so Ben and I try to go back and forth as much as possible. It's a, a bit tricky. He's out of, I guess, Western Australia,
Yeah. So
and
different
then
time
I'm
zone.
obviously in Calgary, Alberta. So we're literally on the opposite sides of the world, as close to as you can be. So yeah, we're kind of just sending our stuff back and forth. Like he'll send me characters on the daily. Like if we get notes back, he'll take care of those. Send me the updated file. I'll immediately composite it for him so that he can see and feel good about what his edits were.
Nice.
And then from me, I kind of just pass it on to David Yee of Disney, I
Yep.
guess. And yeah, he'll do his round of feedback too. And then just yeah, the
Amazing.
odd kind of like video chat between the three of us, but for the most part, just Discord based.
Nice. Yeah. That the whole remote thing with Discord has been, it's not without its challenges, but for that
Yeah.
collaboration to be able to work with people across the world has been really fun. And even in stuff like this, like you and I are a coincidence, but like yeah, I've been
Yeah.
talking with lots of Kiwis and people from England
Yeah.
and Spain and stuff. So I love it. I love being able to talk
Yeah.
with people outside of our, local, city, country even, and it's been pretty cool to
Oh
be able to
yeah.
work with everybody. Um, let's go back to some of your 3D work now. Was there any particular scene that was extra challenging or something didn't go quite right, or you want to be a little
Um.
vulnerable here on on something that maybe
Yeah,
didn't
I'm
go as
trying to think.
expected? You're like, "Ah, no, everything's perfect."
There was a couple of things. There's definitely growth pains at the start, I would
Yeah,
say.
totally.
So our
Like every project though.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So our first ship that I was working, or I guess like we kind of just did this in chronological order.
Yeah.
So starting with the Nebulon right away,
Yes.
and it was just kind of like, throw something at the wall, see what sticks. Like, uh, yeah. So it was just kind of like a dialing in the art style kind of struggle there, I guess.
Yep.
I don't know if it was like particularly tricky as as much as it was just like, we got to
Finding it.
experiment in as many different directions as we can. Other than that, it wasn't like super complex work.
Nice.
I do think with a lot of these space, like kind of like flyby, like ships whipping by in the dark kind of
Yep.
sequences, that was another one where it was kind of like, we don't want to overcomplicate this. We still want it to look like the originals, and
Totally.
so you don't want to get too much in the weeds with like lighting and texturing and all that stuff. You just want to, I guess, just let it breathe,
Yeah,
show some restraint, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, showing restraint is huge because a lot of the times with those big ships and only having maybe a single light, you
Yeah,
often want a little more contrast, right? You want
yeah,
often want from the background, especially in space.
yeah.
You want it to pop, but sometimes you do that and maybe you add a kicker light or something. You're like, actually, no,
Mm,
this is
no,
this is not the way
yeah,
we want to go. So
we got to dial it back. Yeah, you.
yeah,
And it's it's one of those heartbreak things. Like you put a lot of work into a scene, and then
yeah,
you give it to your director. He's like, "You're doing too much.
yeah,
You just got to step back a little bit."
yeah,
Yeah, just
yeah.
keep
You're
your eye on the prize, I guess, there, and not go too far.
nice.
Yeah,
Um, was there any favorite things that you modeled or animated or textured that kind of stood out that you were like, oh yeah, I'm liking this.
yeah. I think just the whole Jabba the Hutt sequence.
Mm,
So the ship rising out of the city. I think it was
totally.
that Narshada.
Yep,
I believe I may be incorrect on that, but yeah. So you get the moldy crow rising out of the city. That scene was so much fun to work on and like try to recreate and just
that's
get
cool.
like the different lines of this building as it weaves in and out.
Yeah,
And
and there's
then
two angles as well, right? Because you see it from below, if I
yeah,
remember this.
the really vertical like looking
Yeah,
up angle. Like
yeah,
it looks so cool. It's such a great shot.
that's
And
cool.
then
But yeah,
the interior on the Star Jewel as well. I think that's got to be my favorite. Just I guess like character scene we would call
totally.
it.
Why is that?
I don't know. It was just like a really fun one to recreate. I just like just visually, I just love how that scene turned out.
Yeah,
It was just like one of the ones where it didn't really feel like we struggled with the art style on that one at all. Like it just feels
nice.
like it just came together so naturally and so well. Yeah, just visually, I think it's like one of the most beautiful of our shots that we got to do.
Yeah, I even in doing a lot of the, comparison shots, like, I did all the
Yeah,
before and afters, and I was just like, "You guys did such a good job. Everything's so clean, but at the same time, like, has that gritty texture." Like, when you're
yeah,
hitting some of those planets, you're like, "Oh, it's not
yeah,
it's not, sanitized." You know what I mean? Where a
yeah,
lot of CGI or a lot of 3D work can be sanitized, but staying true to the game and definitely making it feel like you're in a grimy city or this dusty planet. Um,
yeah.
yeah, no, I think you guys did a hell of a job on all of that.
Thank you. Yeah, that's absolutely the thing with Star Wars too. Is like those ships are covered in grime. Like,
Yeah, they're
oh,
not
they
nice
have so
ships.
much texture. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
like the edges are worn. And yeah,
yeah,
they look
um,
like they've been through some some
yeah. They've been
battles
through
and some
battles. They've been through the
like
galaxy.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's amazing. Is there something that sticks out in your mind? I kind of alluded to this offline, but is there something that sticks out in your mind that the average player might miss in playing, or someone might, you're paying attention to the action, but you want to call out, be like, "Hey, look at that building in that cutscene," or something.
Oh,
Is there anything that sticks out that like you want to call out that you're super proud of, or that
uh,
people might miss? I don't know, like not necessarily an Easter egg, but just like, hey,
yeah.
maybe the next time you watch this cutscene, check this out.
I have. Uh, I
Or
don't know.
any?
They're such simple scenes. I feel like you get a pretty good look at
Mm,
them.
no, that's fair. That's fair. I
Yeah,
thought I'd
yeah.
ask.
I have a funny one. That's
Yeah, yeah,
not not like something that I feel like you'd want to be like, "Hey, check this out." But
that's
one
okay.
of the things that we had to work hard on was actually just getting the stars to be the right tone of blue. Like David Yee for Star Wars was like, we have to have the perfect like perfect star map for this, and they're
Yep,
always got to be like a little on the cold side, and they just got
yep.
to be a little bit of blue. They're like, all right, we work on that. We got our render. We send it. He's like, this is great. And then we do a video thing, and obviously
It changes.
MP4 does
Yeah,
one thing with it, OGV does another
yeah.
thing with it. We're like, okay, these, yeah. So
By
it's
the
just
yeah,
like
the by
such a
the end of
struggle
it, you have
back and
3
forth. Like,
different colors of blue
yeah,
that yeah.
yeah. And we're just, yeah, we're we're struggling over something that's just like, it feels like such a small little background element. But man, Disney
Dude,
cares. Star
no, no,
Wars
no, dude,
cares
I
about every,
completely yeah, I completely
yeah,
hear you because I had, like, lens flares and, like, in the
yeah,
trailer, and I had to change the color of those to the
yeah,
proper I think it was an orange or yellow. It's just like, "Nope,
yeah.
this is the
It's
yellow we
gotta
use," and I
be.
was just like, Doesn't matter. Now it matters. Those details matter. So that's
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I got, like, the exact yellow text for the
yep,
crawl and all that. Yeah, it's
totally.
hilarious. It's so good.
Um, what's your favorite level in the game?
Oh, I gotta say, so I wanna say Aboard the Star Jewel just because you start with
Yes.
punching a Kell Dragon in the face, which is
Yes.
hilarious. Uh, I think actually though, my favorite level is probably the finale, just because I love like the fast-paced platforming sequences in that
Yeah.
one. So it's just like a lot of you're on the conveyor belt and you're just whipping down and you're
Whipping
trying to like
through.
make
Yeah.
these quick decisions, hop here, go like you got the fork in the road left or right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Amazing.
don't know. I just find those like so kinetic and so fun to play through.
Yeah, I remember punching that dragon in the face, being like,
Yeah.
did I miss a weapon? Like, there's got to be
Yeah.
something here." And I
Is
think
this it?
you eventually
It's so
get
fun.
the grenades, but
Yeah.
or sorry, thermal detonators. But
Yeah.
yeah, I remember being like the first time playing through that because I hadn't played through the game and since the '90s, but like I couldn't remember that you actually, yeah, you just had to fist fight your
It's-
way out of
yeah. Yeah. You
that
get
dragon.
thrown in the pit, then you
Felt
just
really
get to
good.
go.
I think it only took me 2 tries. It felt really good afterwards. So
Yeah. It's gotta be
nice.
that's one of the most memorable moments in the game, at
Totally.
least.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
get stripped of all your weapons and equipment, and then you're just, yeah,
Yeah.
tossed in there. I really like that level too because of the variety of, enemies, like, it has a ton
Yeah.
of different types of enemies towards the latter end, and, the bar is fun too, like, the bar scene, I
Yeah.
think, is kind of fun. Yeah, so you're always, like, changing weapons and strategies, at least that's the way I play is I don't just
Yeah.
stick to the one assault rifle and blast 'em. I use mines, dude. I'm a miner. I use mines when I can, even though they're not the most
I think
efficient
I'm
weapon.
I'm definitely pretty vanilla there, man. That like the blaster is just so fun to
It's
use.
so good though,
I
and it
have such a
sounds
hard
so
time
good.
moving on
It
from it.
sounds so
Yeah.
good. Sometimes I'll
Yeah.
switch to the pistol just to be like, I haven't forgotten about you, pistol. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So it's very accurate, but amazing, dude. Do you have besides Dark Forces and that, do you have a favorite Star Wars property? Do you have a favorite movie or comic or game? Another game?
Yeah. I think I don't know that I have the right name. Was this on PS2? I don't know. But Rogue Squadron.
I yeah, well,
It's one of those games that I didn't personally have, but my best friends had. So it's like
yeah.
one of the ones I'd go down the street, hang out with a couple friends, and they had this Rogue Squadron game, which was so fun. And then I'm just like such a big fan of just all the ships in Star Wars.
Yep.
So that's one like I think you could like explore within the ship bays and just like get like an actual good like
You could
360
see
look at
them,
all these
yeah, you could
ships and
totally see them.
choose which one you wanted to take out and yeah, go into battle with.
Yeah, awesome. Great call out. Yeah, Rogue Squadron, excellent game, I think. I think it
Yeah,
was on I think it was on 64.
it might have
It
been
might have been on
64. It's
64.
yeah,
It's definitely been, um, it must have been
yeah. It's been a
redone
minute
because
since I got to play that. I
yeah,
haven't.
no kidding. I think I put in I don't know if it was Rogue Squadron or not, but I put in a code and I unlocked a Naboo starfighter,
That
and
like
that
the
was
yellow.
the yellow one, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was before it must have been put in before the game was released, or sorry, before that
So
ship appeared in the movies, because
yeah,
they were being made, like, concurrently. So,
yeah,
I remember being, like, mind blown when I saw that Naboo starfighter. Same thing, went in there, you had to, like, look around it and see, I was like, "What is this?" And
yeah. I
obviously,
think
yeah,
did
that's
they have that one in like the opening cutscene too? It just
yeah,
yeah, that game
it's
looks
pretty
amazing.
sick.
It
Okay,
was
good
so much
call. I
fun.
like that a lot. I like that a lot. Um
Also, yeah, props to what was it, the pod racing game too, of course.
Dude, I
So
pod
much
racing
fun.
game is good. Pod racing game
Yeah.
is good. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, I don't wanna take too much of your time. Is there anything else, that we missed or you wanted to cover or you wanted to shout out, anything like that?
Uh, I don't think so. I think that pretty
Leave
much
it at
covers
that.
it.
Sick,
Like I
man.
said, I've been off this for a minute, so I don't have like too many details fresh in my head
No,
for this
no,
one.
that's
But
okay. Hey, I appreciate you hopping on here and and chatting and,
Yeah.
lending some insight into the thought process and your day to day on something like this, just to give a little perspective to the audience on what goes into all of that remaster. Like
Yeah.
we say remaster, and people don't necessarily know that a lot of these scenes are being built from scratch,
Yeah.
recomposited, retextured, re-everything it takes a lot of work. So I really appreciate you coming
Yeah.
on and shedding some light on that. So thank you so much for your time today.
No worries at all. I was just gonna say too, when people don't realize that it's completely made from scratch, that's the best,
That's a good thing. That's
the
a good
best
thing.
compliment, you know?
Yeah. It means you've done your job right.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool, man. Well, we will catch you another time talking about the next project. So thanks so much, Bren.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Cheers.